Is Alien Earth worth your time? In my humble opinion, not right now, it's not. As of right now, episode 3 just came out, and I can't get 15 minutes into it without cringing uncontrollably. Now, the first episode was admittedly very interesting. It had a lot of promise. It set up things that I personally just enjoy: world building, bringing out the lore, exploring the world of Alien and Alien versus Predator and Predator, which of course now all exists in the same universe. All of that is very interesting. Taking a look at Earth, and again, all of these things are now happening in live action. A lot of these things have already happened in comics and other source material, but who's read those things, really, unless you're a huge fan? So, seeing the world of Alien not just in a small, claustrophobic, it's an alien monster movie, but actually exploring the sci-fi aspects of it, that's very appealing to me. I really like that. And I'm not getting that. I got a little bit of that in the first episode, and it set some things up. Those things, so far, have yet to really pay off in any way, shape, or form that's not, again, disgustingly cringeworthy. All right. There are some things that I suppose are spoilers, but again, let's just call it first couple episodes. Some of these people are robots. Okay. Now, they're kids in robot bodies. Now, what does that mean? It means that you've got 20 something actors badly playing children. And it's exactly as bad as you would expect it to be. It's terrible. It's really awful. There's also a lot of weird kind of Noah Hawley artsy fartsiness about certain scenes where in which, like, for example, you'll have a character remembering something, and it will basically do like a sort of screen wipe, fade in into, like overlaying a sort of semi-opaque transparent version of that scene. And it's really weird in an alien movie. This is supposed to be like a pulse pounding sci-fi, super gritty, grounded, Ridley Scott esque. Everything is, super realistic. That's why everything's dirty and gritty and grimy and industrial looking. It's because it's a lived in human world. So when you have weird art house fade in, fade out stuff, it makes no sense in the context of this. Now, Noah Hawley has done this in previous works, so say Legion, which I liked, or at least I liked the first 2 seasons of. Makes perfect sense there. Why does it make perfect sense there? Well, because it's a show about a telepathic mutant who's schizophrenic and does not know where reality ends and begins, not only because he's crazy, but because he manipulates reality by thinking of it. So is it a delusion or is it reality? Is it his delusion that's been made into a reality, or is it, reality and it's impinging into a delusion? You don't know. So that kind of strange visual storytelling completely makes sense in the context of a Legion show. In the context of, again, very supposed to be grounded, very supposed to be gritty, real world with sci-fi elements, it makes no sense at all. It's horrible. Now, this is without even getting into the really bad part. The stuff that actually sucks about it is, like I said, the 20-something actors playing, 10, 11, 12-year-old children. Okay? It's super bad and cringe and terrible because they can't really do it. Or at the very least, they're playing a version of kids that are really annoying. Like it's not kids like a Steven Spielberg would direct them, where in which they're not being asked to play children. They're asked to be, played as people. And they just happen to be kids. Yeah, that's what they should have done, but I get it. They wanted to really drive home the idea that these are children in adult bodies. And so therefore they have to be incredibly weird looking and weird acting, kind of in a way that almost like kids just aren't, you know? And it comes off as like really hacky and bad. And probably these actors are, decent and could have done a good enough job at this if the script or director or whatever had given them leave to actually, like, make it more subtle, but that's not the case. It's trying to be over the top in all of these things. I would say again to try to be artistic, and it's just not connecting correctly. It's kind of bad. There's also again like just kind of things that don't make sense, like Wendy, the main girl on screen, is all of a sudden, bam, she's got a samurai sword. Now, is that actually a samurai sword? No. In the actual show, she literally just pulls off a, paper cutter and then slaps it onto her back, and apparently her back's magnetic, and she now has like, and again, it's very clearly like a samurai sword, like a small ninja sword. All right, which if anyone has ever used a paper cutter, shunk, that's not how they're shaped. Okay, and you would not want to be taking them around because they would be very unwieldy, and they're not super like they're not super robust. They're not good weapons to be hanging around. And again, just slapping it on your back like Cloud because they're apparently magnetic. I don't understand it. It's supposed to be cool, but it comes off as wrong because it's not realistic. Now, as I said, right now, is this worth your time? No. Could it be good in a binge? Might all of these issues be cleared up? Could it be entirely possible that, later all of these things will be paid off and they will feel better? That is possible. And that is why I would say don't waste your time on it now, because if it turns good later, you will have lost all steam for it if you're trying to watch it in an episodic week by week format, like I did. Like maybe I'll go back to it, but again, I couldn't get 15 minutes into the third episode. And I don't know if I see myself really attempting to sit down and force myself to watch this show. Maybe this video does really well and, I can bank on some views. I would, but I would be watching it kind of like at my own, like, protestation. I don't really want to watch this. That is a problem because they're really banking on this. Obviously, this is the first Alien series. This probably cost a decent amount of money. And for whatever reason, because all of the Alien stuff is like super canon and they're trying to build out an Alien Predator like movie universe with like the new, Predator Badlands or whatever. Yeah, and then they have the Alien Romulus recently, and they're trying to make this one of their big franchise pulls. This is not a great way to do it. Another thing that I will say is that it does seem to be that, there's going to be weird stuff coming in where one of the main characters is probably just going to like end up mind controlling one of the aliens or all the aliens psychically. That's kind of what it seems like it's moving towards. Some of the characters are, again, there's the boy Cavalier, who is, just incredibly insufferable. Again, I don't think the actor necessarily is insufferable by nature. That was just kind of the way the character is written, but it's written for a character that's not supposed to be horrible and awful and you hate. This is not Joffrey from Game of Thrones. This is a character you're supposed to kind of root for. At the very least, you're supposed to be not actively wishing for his demise. And that's kind of what you are, because his character is just like really wacky and annoying and also super inconsistent. He's in one scene the smartest, most intelligent being ever conceived of by God or man. And the next season he's like, wait, huh? What happened? How did did we do that? Huh? I'm like, okay, dude, if you're a fucking absolute monster genius, you should remember what the basic capabilities or programming of your new robots are. Okay? And he just immediately forgets. He doesn't know. He's like, what the heck? Huh? What? You guys tell me. It's like, okay, you're really throwing the whole I'm a super genius thing out the window. At this point, you just seem like a really weird guy who, for some reason, is absurdly obsessed with Peter Pan. It's very weird. It's insanely strange. So, To wrap up, once again, is it worth your time right now? I can't say that it is. I really can't. It might be worth your time later, and it might be better in a full binge. So I would say at this point, if you've got other stuff to do, if you've got other shows on your docket, if you're not really a big Alien fan, or on the other hand, if you are a big Alien fan in the sense of a big horror fan, this show is not for you. The horror aspect, again, third episode, 5-10 minutes in, no tension whatsoever. There's like a direct confrontation scene between two characters and the alien. There's literally no tension, no suspense, no horror, nothing. And it's not even necessarily a good action either. It's not like Alien versus Predator, where they're no longer like super scary in the dark monsters that you're always insanely afraid of and everything's very tense. There's, there's not even like a cool action scene where they're like fighting people and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, nah, I'm gonna stab this, and that, the thing gets killed off screen. You're like, okay, really? Okay, I feel like you're kind of missing the whole alien aspect here. And then you seem to also be missing the whole Ridley Scott cyberpunk aesthetics. You seem to be missing any horror elements. You seem to be missing all the action elements. You seem to also be doing a show that doesn't fit with, this sort of like trying to do the visual language of a much more artistic, ephemeral, theoretical, high falutin kind of show, when Alien and Aliens even was always about being much more viscerally grounded sci-fi, hard sci-fi, as opposed to, sci fantasy, which is what this is. So, I mean, I don't know who this show is for other than Noah Hawley. So, hopefully it gets better. I'm not, I don't think it is. I'll do a wrap up when it's finished, I guess, if I get enough views on this video, / if the show is watchable and I can actually get through it. Other than that, I'll say good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Farewell for now.